World Disability Day, and with me in studio is Dr. Prabha Joski, who comes from the Dr. Joski Albinism Foundation, whose motto, by the way, I was having a look at it, and it talks about help ever, hurt never, a nice one, I should mention that. And Alfredo Wuko, who is also the Executive Director of the Action Network for the Disabled, and we also have Grace Nzomo, a student at USIU here in Nairobi. She's living with albinism, but she says, like their motto says, help ever, hurt never. It's now my time to join them in studio. And Dr. Joski, happy to see you. Grace, thank you for getting time to be with us. And Fred,
it's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And we mark the World Disability Day today, but it's also not lost on us that we live in this country. And just a comment from you, Dr. Joski, about the security situation in the country. Does it, before we just delve into the matters to do with disability, what will be your take about the security situation in the country?
I think the security situation is really getting worse, and more so because people have, I think, lost a bit of compassion in their heart, that neighborliness, and so many things. You see, like the other day we were reading about the person who killed his wife and killed children. He went to the neighbor to say that, can somebody keep my children for me? And the neighbor probably must have refused. That's how it must have happened. I think when we come out of our comfort zone of the homes and reach out to people who are maybe in your neighborhood, people with disadvantages, I think it goes a long way in finally feeling security. And security is not just the physical security. Physical security also, emotional security, mental security. There's so many things. You see, a child in a family is secure because he knows his parents are providing from them. People should also be secure in the society, like people with albinism are really not secure in the society. From our neighboring countries, we heard stories about albino children being killed, their body parts being sold. In Tanzania, their body parts being sold. Then many people think of albinism, I think it's the ignorance also. So ignorance of the condition, so people think that having an albino child is like a curse to the family.
We'll talk about albinism in a short while. Grace, does the security situation in the country leave you worried as a person?
Yes, somewhat, because we live in African country and we expect our government to really provide security for us to be comfortable. And with the growing trends and with the news each day, we get more worried and more,
And we pray that the government is going to do something. Fred, your take on security situation?
I don't think if it's only me worried, all of us should be worried because day by day something is happening and we are getting, people are dying and losing life. Life is a sacred thing that all of us should protect, however, even if you're in leadership or not. So I think we should work together as Kenyans and really improve our security, but also the people who hold responsibilities within government should also be playing their part.
And away from security now, and let's now focus on the topic of the day, World Disability Day. And Dr. Joski, the question will be, even as we celebrate this day, as a country, do you have anything to celebrate in the first place?
I think people just give a lot of importance to the negative aspect of some of the conditions, but I look only at the positive aspect of that. Last 6 years that I'm working, we have actually created role models for the country. People have, and I think with albinism, it's let me first tell you what albinism is and what it is doing to our, what it really is, how we can understand the condition. So it's a genetic condition, just like many other genetic conditions. You have Down syndrome, you can have neurofibromatosis, or you can have any of the genetic conditions. So a child is born with defect of a pigment called melanin. So this melanin is absent in the skin, it's absent in the hair, but the most important is absent in the eyes. And I'm an eye specialist, I'm an ophthalmologist for last 37 years. So this is a condition where it's genetic. But what happens is when a white child is born to black parents, they are initially first really shocked. People hear stories about, that this is a curse to the family. It will bring only misfortune to the family. Their skin, of course, their skin is very sensitive to the sun. It can, when they're exposed to the sun, it can become red, it can become blister formation. But when they prolonged exposure to the sunlight can actually give skin cancers, which are fatal in these conditions and all that. So parents get worried. There'll be a lot of cost of sunscreens that will be needed and all that. And the thing is the ignorance about the condition, because people don't actually look at the eyes. They are just looking at the skin, and they think that it's a white child born to black parents. And the brunt of the whole situation is taken by the woman, the mother of the child.
The mother of the child.
Most of these women are thrown away from their matrimonial homes because they have born a white child, because they think that's not, it was fathered by a white person. And so almost by the time I came into this program about 6 to 7 years ago, almost more than 50% of our albino children were single parent children living with grandparents. And the story is really very, very sad, because this is not about, it is not about, I think more about ignorance, more about poverty, more about the society not accepting the
situation,
child, the situation as it is. Even I think somewhere or the other, the medical profession also has really failed, because when a child with albinism is born, the diagnosis is so important. Explaining to the mother, explaining to the father, then even now what we have done is, you know, whenever we come across a small child with albinism, we have people like Grace, we have Naomi, we have a lot of people, they are there. So parents can actually see that my child can also grow up beautifully like this.
Can
and
also,
that is what.
Exactly. And Grace, Dr. Choski raises a fundamental question. Talk about children born with albinism being viewed as a curse, those kind of challenges. Did you encounter this kind of challenges for the time you've been going through?
No, actually, I'm very lucky my parents stayed together, and they brought me up as a normal child. I actually didn't feel that I was different in any way when I was at home. But now in school, when I'm walking around, that's why I hear Mzungu, or you're being treated a bit differently. But at home, my parents really raised me up well as a normal child, and I didn't feel any difference at all. Yeah.
So much that today you're a student at the university?
Yes. I also manage Dr. Choksi Albinism Foundation.
You're the programs officer?
Yes.
At the university, what are you studying for?
I'm studying psychology.
Psychology?
Yes.
And that should be USIU?
Yes.
Fred, I know that Dr. Choski deals with matters albinism, but I want to believe your network works with something different, is it not? But matters to do with disability.
Yeah, I'm an organization known as Action Network for the Disabled, and our work is primarily around young people with disability. So these are cross-disability organizations working nationally, and more particularly on issues of employment for persons with disability. You and I know that in this country, if you see a person with disability coming to your office, the first thing you do is you close your door. And no one expects us to go to their offices looking for work. The only thing you think about when we come to your office, you're always imagining that we're coming to beg, while tons of young people have graduated and are looking for work, but nobody is willing to welcome to their offices. So we concern ourselves around how do we build the know-how of employers to be able to appreciate and embrace persons with disability at the workspace, so that they have an opportunity to work and get an income in exchange of their competencies. Yeah.
And talking about employment, because I want to look at it from the albinism aspect, and even when you talk about people with disability, how's the situation, how's the employment market for the people with disability so far?
I think the thing that really shocked me when I started working with albinism was that, you know, these people with albinism don't have pigment in the eyes. So when they go out in the sun, they probably squint their eyes. People had never taken them to a correct eye specialist before deciding what should be. 70 to 80% of the children in 6-7 years ago were attending blind schools. Many of them, actually Grace is a typical example. Grace did her primary school in print in Thika Road Christian School. But when she went to secondary school, they said, you know, you are a person with albinism, you don't see. Can you believe it that this child had to do her secondary education in Braille? And Braille, children with albinism can actually see. Now tell me, who decides if the child has to go to blind school or not? Is it the parents? Is it the teachers? Is it the society? Or it's an eye specialist? Out of the 600 people I've seen so far, 590 are seeing me as an eye specialist for the first time, whom I'm actually doing a detailed test to see how it was. Now coming back to your question, if a child has studied in blind school, already the opportunities have been lost. They have not been able to study science subjects. They have not been able to do so many things. A child who is seeing, I came across many children who did primary in Braille, secondary in Braille, and they go to a university with pens and prints. So all along, when they were doing Braille, they were not actually feeling the words, they were actually reading the words. So that is what, these are actually children with lost opportunities. One of my patients actually called them as forgotten species. People never really worried of how much they are seeing. And as far as I see it, an ophthalmologist or an eye specialist plays a major role in their lives. Because see, skin you can still take care of. I have many people who are 40, 45 years who have never applied sunscreen but taken care that they never went out in the sun. Their skins are still good. Hair is fine, in African hair I'm really happy, they can braid black, so it really doesn't. So the main problem still is the eyes, and we actually, that is what I want to do. And what we give them glasses are like photochromatic glasses. These glasses change with the light, so they become dark when they go out. Now these people are able to keep their eyes open, they are able to, and I'm also seeing that, yeah, it was brought to my notice maybe in 2010 end or 11, that many of these children who are single parent children and children of living with grandparents, many of them were being chased away from school because of lack of school fees. And then I just thought, why not I started paying school fees. And we also now, I'll just give you an example. There was a child whose fees was paid in Kitui. He was staying in Nairobi. Now suppose, and you know, lot of donor funds also come for maybe awareness raising now. Suppose I'm telling that his parents had attended the awareness raising program. Lot of people are now concentrating on the sunscreen. Suppose even he had 5 bottles of sunscreen. How does this help this child who only needs 600 shillings to go to from Nairobi to? I think when we look at donations, I think it's good to look out of the box. For me, it's not that it's not necessary. I could have actually done, seen the eyes, maybe given free glasses, and maybe then. But you see, this is what, now if the child has got, even maybe he has got glasses, he has got this, but if he doesn't have food, if he doesn't have transport to go to school, how can he? Yeah, that is what. So when we help in different ways.
In different ways.
Yeah.
Fred, now that you work with an organization that also matters employment, can you paint for us a picture of the employment opportunities available, and are we seeing them? I know that Honorable Isaac Mwaura is nominated Member of Parliament today. That will be an encouragement. We also have cases, Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi lives with disability, he will be on this set, and I believe that should be an encouragement. But down here, we seem not to see the presence, the people living with disability being embraced in terms of employment, is it not?
You might be right, but as well, the situation is currently changing, but the only problem that it's a slow pace, because, you know, changing mindset is something that takes a process and takes concerted efforts, and that involves also media to try to highlight the positive sides of person with disability and the capabilities. For example, when the Constitution says that 5% of jobs, both public and private, should be reserved for persons with disability, are we really looking out for this information and highlighting the companies that are actually already working on this, and seeing what are they doing differently that other companies can adopt, or even government ministries? If it's government policy to reserve jobs for persons with disability, are these ministries following up? So if those questions are not asked, then it means people will be just doing small things here and there. But at least when the Constitution say we are going to have representative for persons with disability, we actually expect them to be asking these questions in Legislative Assembly, so that policymakers are aware that someone is watching, and now everyone feels that they are included, and we can now see both private and public institutions warming up to employ persons with disability, because one, it's a requirement, but secondly, actually, these individuals have their competencies, they have gone to school, they have skills they want to offer. It's only that we have viewed them for a long time as people who are incapable, people who only need charity, people who need to be helped. While if I've gone to school, I have my degree, I have my master's, I have my PhD, but nobody is willing to look beyond my CV. People are only interested in looking at my crutches. That is the problem. So from where I see it, I see progress being made, but actually we need to do more. We need to be highlighting some of these positive stories. We need to be holding these companies accountable, because there's no way a market can have only one or two types of consumers. There's a variety of consumers. So is this country. We are a very diverse country. You cannot have an institution that only employs one or two people. We need to take care of all the diversity of Kenyans. And persons with disability are part and parcel of this country. So employing them is actually not a favor.
It's
a right that people need to be included and they need to be employed as a matter of right.
And when you talk about that provision of the Constitution, we'll be talking about it shortly. But Grace, you've gone through the system. You're now a student at the USI University.
Yes.
And the question will be, considering you're the programs officer at Dr. Chosky Foundation, what are you doing maybe to encourage people who may be in a similar situation like you are and who also want to reach where you are, using the position that you hold and considering you're a student at the university?
Basically, you encourage them through talking to them and just giving them your own life story, because when someone listens to your story and knows what you went through, they have hope. The main thing is to just give them hope, because when parents come with young children, they wonder how they're going to grow up, how am I going to take care of them, but when they see someone older like me, and now they have hope that their children are going to grow up and just be normal and pursue anything that they want to pursue. Yeah.
And so, Dr. Chosky, the question will also be that Fred cites a provision of the Constitution that talks about, listen, that when you're employing those private and public positions, remember people living with disability. What are you doing as an organization to ensure that these people are also factored in and that provision is abided by?
I think we still have a very long way to go, because first and foremost, we actually have to inform the society about what albinism is. So awareness is really still very important. The second thing that we really have to do is, my aim is that every child who reaches maybe 6 to 7 years, I don't want to give glasses to very young ones, but 6 to 7 years when they are able to take care of the glasses, because some of my own observation is some of them are very short-sighted, maybe minus, they're myopic by minus 12, minus 14, which even a person who had pigment would have been considered blind. Many of the people label these people as legally blind. Surely, has anybody seen that after glasses are they legally blind? Because the definition of the word legally blind is, after correction, they should not be able to see 660. That is what a normal person sees at 60 meters. This person is seeing as that's after correction. My own observation is, out of these people that I've seen, none of them are really come in the bracket of legally blind. So first and foremost, let's get it out from the mindset of the society that these people are blind. That they have to, you see, whether you like it or not, putting somebody in Thika School for the Blind, Likoni School for the Blind, Kitui School, it's putting a stamp on them. Stamp that they are blind. But who decided that they should be there in the first place? So I think once the society accepts them, once they see these people performing so well, the children we sponsor go to regular schools. And I'm not talking about, integrated schools or not. They go to total regular schools. And they're actually doing well. And I think the internet also has really helped a lot, because children with albinism need a little bigger print. They need something close-up reading and all these things. So it is important that all children now can study normal. So I think our work is more to create awareness, to create role models. I think what we have really done is to create role models.
And those role models, by the way, just looking at one of the booklets you gave me, I can see the role models here, torchbearers of Dr. Chosky Albinism Foundation, and you can see the children here living with disability. I can see there Josephine Wangeshi, Anne Wanjiru. Talk about Gracia. I can see there Brenda Wekes. I can see Jen Waithera Wairimu, Leonida Nyoso, Favour Jerry. Talk about Lilian Wafula. All this are people, and the list continues, by the way. And these are role models for the country. But then, Fred, when you talk about that particular provision of the Constitution, it's one thing having it, and Dr. Chosky talks about we have a long way to go in terms of ensuring that we walk the talk and implement some of these provisions. Do you think that we are doing enough to implement it? And what are you doing as an organization, as it were?
Yeah, that's a good question. One thing we must appreciate when something positive is happening, and for real, there are a number of companies that are actually taking up these issues seriously. They're actually even coming up with policies within their principles, so that to ensure that going forward, they are aware of the challenges faced by persons with disability. And when they're recruiting, they have this in mind. So when somebody comes, they're looking at their competencies as opposed to the disability that they can see, the physical disability they can see. Are we doing enough? I think we should up our game both, and for me, I think our members of parliament should ask more harder question about whether all the government institutions, for example, to start with, are complying with the law, because this law that is brought about by government, and all of us are subject to this particular constitution. So at least we have it written that 5% of jobs should be reserved for persons with disability. But then someone needs to go back and check, is it really working? How are we doing in terms of percentage, for example, as of now? Because this involves data. Data, for it to be taken authentic, it needs to be also looked at by government institutions so that we can corroborate and see that actually these are the numbers. What we are doing as an organization is that from our small resources, we are preparing persons with disability for interviews. How do they make their CVs? How do they go for an interview and present their competence as opposed to their disabilities? And we are also supporting others to go for, so kind of supported internships at different organizations, and some of them are even government ministries. And then there are those that we are training in entrepreneurship, so that people are not only looking at the white-collar job, there are those that can actually start business on their own, and then we give them, say, a small startup capital for them to begin those business and see them grow, so that they can now go to either microfinance or a bank to get a loan to upscale those businesses. But what is interesting is that majority of the employers actually, some of them do not want to discriminate. They do not know if a person with disability can work until you prove that this person can work. And that can only happen when they're given an opportunity to get into the office first. If they're not into the space, nobody can know about that. So the internship provides an opportunity for all those who are doubting, and we'll call them doubting Thomases, to see that actually this person has competence even more than the staff who are currently employed here. When that happens, it means they are actually hired. And when they're hired, they change the whole narrative at the workspace, because they begin to relate with other colleagues at the workspace, they form friendship, and that changes the mindset of work colleagues, who then when they go to their homes, they're also trying to talk to others who might also be managers in other companies, and that narrative begins to continue, changed, and then we see some positive results coming up.
And you know what? I'm enjoying this particular interview, and painfully I have to end this, because it's amazing, you know, you're encouraging me. And unfortunately, we have to bring this to an end. And just in a sentence, Dr. Chosky, even as bring this to an end, in one simple sentence, just a word, even as we mark this day to Kenyans.
I think the media plays a great role in whatever I have to say, because all this time we have only seen negative stories about albinism. It's time we brought out the positive stories. It's time we brought out all the people who are performing beyond their capacity to reach out. And our motto is help ever, hurt never. It is also not only to people with albinism, but it is to orphan children, to underprivileged children, to disabled people. Those all are mentioned in the thing. So we are actually going that way. And definitely disability is not inability. For people with albinism, I think they can do anything. We have, Kenya has created role models in Mumbi Guge and Isaac Mawra. I think all my albino children are capable of
doing anything.
Anything in the world, anything in the world.
Grace, your closing remarks?
I'll reiterate Martin Luther's speech that his dream is when people will be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin.
Yes.
Now, in light of this day, judge people according to their ability, not really what you see outside, but what can come from inside and show. Yeah.
Powerful one. Fred,
Thank you.
last word.
This year's theme for International Disability Day is sustainable development, the promise of technologies. That already shows us that there's an exploited market for persons with disability to get jobs. How are we breaking down the barriers for persons with disability to be employed? How are we using technologies to ensure that someone can work from the comfort of their house, someone can have assistive devices that enables them to be able to function and deliver, and in exchange get an income as a country? Can we be part of those that are dismantling the barriers that make persons with disability look disabled?
Thank you, Frederick Ouko, the Executive Director of the Action Network for Disabled People, that is. Grace, marvelous words there, and Dr. Chosky, I like your motto, by the way. It talks about help ever, hurt never. And those were powerful statements that we just made on this set, and we hope that whatever you are saying is going to be implemented. And I have to appreciate my sign language interpreter, Susan. You're amazing. Thank you very much for that beautiful job, and we just pray that you'll continue doing that superfluous job, and can see you also interpreting what I'm saying. That's awesome. And even as we mark this day, the message out there is disability is not inability. And Grace says, judge her not by her color or the color of the skin, but by her character. Those are the words by Martin Luther King. I have got a dream. And my dream now is to usher in Samuel Njoroge, who will be talking about matters security, even as I pave the way for that gentleman. I can see him there doing some, jogging. See you after the short break.